Welcome to today's Let's Talk Wellness. We are here with Sam from EAG. We are going to be making a spicy Asian zucchini noodle salad, a twist on Hawaiian turkey sliders, and spicy Indian chickpeas and minted yogurt. As we enjoy this spicy food, Sam will show us how we could adjust these recipes to make them a little less spicy for us. So take it away, Sam.
Hi, everyone. So I am really excited and feeling a little ambitious in getting through 3 recipes today in 30 minutes, but we got this. And that's my favorite part of this is it doesn't have to take a long time. But just as a reminder, we're always doing the cooking books with our Let's Talk Wellness. So you guys know that I'm from EAG. And if you guys call me or reach out to me to schedule your exam, just mention what we're making today. And I'd be more than happy to get you set up with your Amazon gift card once your exam is complete. All right, so we're going to get started because we have a lot to get through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk through stations. So the first thing we're going to make is our spicy Asian zucchini noodle salad. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to spiralize the noodles. What's really awesome is that you can buy these, and Jen and I were just talking for those of you that were on, but you can purchase already spiralized zoodles. I call them zoodles, zucchini noodles, or different vegetables. I know that there's beet noodles, butternut squash noodles. We'll have to use those once the fall comes around because they're one of my favorite things. But they're already done for you, which can make things a lot more convenient, and you don't necessarily need the spiralizer. I had it, I dug it out of my closet and said, let's use it right out of my pantry. So this one's really cool because it actually anchors to the countertop with a suction cup, so it's not going to move around. It does make quite a bit of a mess because I don't have a bowl that goes directly underneath it, but you know, if you guys have been cooking with me for a while, sometimes I make a mess, but all that matters is that it tastes good, right? So let's start spiralizing. I like to kind of guide it with my hand. Of course, you don't want to get too close because they're sharp edges, but if I can prevent these from hitting the countertop, they're coming out now. You guys can see. Got some great noodles. And what's nice about doing it fresh and doing it in the moment is that sometimes when I open up the containers that are already done, they get really mushy. And what you can do to prevent that is if you're making them at home, you can add a little bit of salt and then just with a clean paper towel, just kind of dab it a little bit, and that will help to take out some of the water, so prevent the mushiness. So there's 1/2 of our zucchini. I already spiralized another. So you can see it gets everywhere. And then here's our second piece. Does anybody work with spiralized vegetables at all? And just remembering not to bring your hands too close, really sharp edges here. Even the piece that's going into the zucchini is sharp. Of course, the piece cutting the zucchini is sharp. So just being very careful if you do work with one of these at home. I also like to make a almost like a caprese type of salad with zucchini noodles. That's really fun too. They're really fun in the summer because they're nice and light. So it is a really great option for a summer barbecue or something like that. But you can also cook them. So when you're cooking zucchini noodles, you don't want to boil them like you would pasta, of course. What you'd want to do is actually just saute them in a pan until they're a little softer, and you're good to go. And it usually cooks up really quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna release my contraption here and get it out of the way. And so you guys can see what I'm doing. So almost every ingredient, at least in this recipe, requires us to measure a tablespoon. So I'm going to kind of eyeball once I use a couple, just so that way it's not, mixing flavors of different things. So this is rice vinegar. So I don't know how many of you guys have worked with rice vinegar before, but it's typically seasoned, especially if you're, of course, choosing a seasoned rice vinegar. Now that's going to add some sugar and salt, depending on the variety that you do purchase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out a tablespoon, not a teaspoon. And this adds so much flavor. You can smell it already. And then what I'm gonna do from there, I'm gonna add some lime juice. Does anybody have one of these citrus squeezers at home? It's really like one of the best things. It catches all the pits from the lemons. It's really awesome. Oops.
A few people have the citrus squeezer. Yeah.
Oh, game changer.
And I also too just shared the links to the recipes within the chat. So feel free to save them to your favorites. And by actually favoriting and searching for recipes, you do earn points.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so I am gonna add a little bit of oil. The recipe does call for canola oil. I only have olive oil in my house. So there are some things in recipes that you wanna make sure, or you don't necessarily have to go out and buy. This olive oil, of course, is gonna be a little bit more flavorful. So it might change the taste a little bit, but to me, I don't mind it. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil. If I had if I had avocado oil, I would probably do that. You guys know I'm a big fan of avocado oil, especially if cooking. And then we also have honey that we're gonna add in. So I just did a tablespoon. We're also gonna do sesame oil and honey. So I'm gonna get a clean spoon to dip into my honey.
A comment in here is grapeseed oil is nice too.
Yeah, that's a great one too. Good suggestion. That one's also good for cooking too. So the recipe does call for 2 tablespoons. Oh boy, my honey is very thick. I had buckwheat honey in the house, so it is definitely thick, but that's okay. We're gonna whisk it up. And what I love about this is the recipe does call for 2 tablespoons, but what you can do is once your dressing is made, use half and then taste it. And that way, you know, if you need to add a little bit to it, because once you already put it in, you can't take it away, right? So I'm going to add some sesame oil, which, you know, we are adding different varieties of fat here, right? So we have olive oil, we have sesame oil, and then we did add some sugar, a little bit with the rice vinegar, and then of course with the honey. So I'm going to whisk this up. And try not to get it everywhere. Again, I make a mess all the time, but it's not fun if you don't make a mess, right? Did anybody comment about how they work with zucchini noodles or different type of veggie noodles? I think zucchini noodles were really popular like a couple of years ago. Then I feel like the popularity kind of died down a little bit, but they're still such a great go-to thing, especially in the summer. God, this smells amazing. So I'm gonna take a little taste. Definitely sweet enough for me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour it over our zucchini noodles. And I'm gonna mix that up a little bit. We have a couple other ingredients to get through. So we're gonna add in some cilantro, which I was surprised to see in this recipe, but I'm always game for cilantro. Cilantro is one of my favorite herbs. You know, cilantro can also be pretty polarizing. You know, some people really don't like cilantro. So something that you can use instead, if you wanted to just use a parsley, again, that's not, it's not extremely flavorful. It's not going to change the flavor as much, but it's still going to give you some herbs and a little bit of flavor in there too. And then we're going to actually add in some scallions as well. Scallions are the star ingredient today. They're going to be used in every one of our recipes, and I'll explain why in a minute, but still going to taste really good. Ooh, see? I don't know if you guys saw that, but zucchini everywhere. So I'm just mixing it up here, and we have 2 more ingredients that we're going to add in. And this is where I would be careful if you're looking for something not super spicy. So we're going to use crushed red pepper flakes. In my house, my husband and I love spicy food, so we're definitely going to add some in here. But this is something you can omit or really go light on if you want to try to limit the spiciness. Throwing zucchini noodles everywhere. Good thing I had a big bowl for this. And then what I'm gonna do next is I'm just gonna top it off with sesame seeds. Oops. And it's just gonna add a little crunch. It's gonna look nice. So it's a really nice addition, not adding too much. Put way too much in my hand though. All right. So what I would do here too is I would probably transfer this to another bowl, only because a lot of the dressing is just kind of gonna go right to the bottom of this dish. But that's definitely something you can do, especially if you're gonna let it sit in the refrigerator, because you don't want the zucchini noodles to get too mushy. Okay. So as you guys can see, we've got our zucchini noodle salad. I know it's hard to see, but there definitely are pops of red from the crushed red pepper, which is awesome. And we're gonna move on to our next recipe. Does anybody have questions on that one? Zucchini noodles, super versatile. They're really awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
At this moment.
Awesome, thanks, Jen. So for this one, we're gonna do the spicy Indian chickpeas with minted yogurt. So what I'm gonna do is when I went shopping for the ingredients for this recipe, I actually forgot to grab shallots. So decided to use a mild onion, so not your traditional item, but I'm going to use scallions here too, just to give it a little bit of onion flavor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some scallions, I'm gonna put them in. I'm actually gonna steal some from our next recipe too, because they need a little more in here. So I don't know if you guys work with scallions often, the green onion, but when I learned how to cook, or before I learned how to cook, I actually used to cut the green part off because I thought, oh, the white part is near the end that sits in the dirt, that we don't want to eat the white part, but the white part is actually all the flavor. So I definitely always make sure that I get as much of the white part as I can before hitting the little roots there. So just something to think about. That was news to me when I started to cook. So again, just something to consider. Next, I'm going to juice a lemon. Again, my favorite appliance. Oops. Or throw it in the dish, either way. This is a big one. See what happens. There we go. So we've got onion, lemon juice, and I love that this catches the pits, because if we're just squeezing lemon juice, a lot of times we're fishing for the pits that fall into the item that we're making. So I'm gonna probably leave it at that because that was pretty juicy. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt. Now this recipe is pretty interesting because we're actually going to heat up mustard's going in, but an oil that's going to add a lot of flavor. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to spin that a little bit, is I'm actually going to use olive oil. So a lot of you guys, if you've been watching my videos, you guys know that if I'm cooking something, I usually don't use olive oil. I'll usually use, like I said, avocado oil or grapeseed oil, one of those higher smoke points. With this though, we're only cooking it for a minute. I'm not getting super hot, or at least I'm trying not to. You guys know my stovetop has a mind of its own sometimes. So I would definitely measure out the oil that you're using, because that's gonna be some fat in the recipe. So definitely something to consider. So we're going 1 and 2 tablespoons. And then what we're gonna do from there, the recipe actually calls for ground mustard, and I did not purchase that because, again, I forgot it. So I actually looked up what a great substitution would be, and it's Dijon mustard, which I do have at home. So again, don't stress out if you don't have ingredients that are specific to different recipes. Maybe it's a new recipe you've never tried before. There are typically substitutions, and that's what's so nice about, cooking versus baking. Baking, you traditionally have to be very careful with that. Guys, I have mustard all over my hand. Give me 1 second. Does anybody do a yogurt chickpea dish at all? I'm also going to add in cumin. And I'm just going to stir it. Basically, we're going to have this on until it's fragrant. I can kind of smell it now, so probably going to pull it off the heat, honestly, and just kind of whisk it together. Use my whisk for something else, so just going to make it work. Jen, does anybody make the dish at all?
No, but yogurt chickpea sounds good.
Yeah. Checking our time. We're doing good.
We're 15 minutes in. You make cooking look so easy.
Oh, yeah. Just make a mess, but that's okay. My husband always laughs when he comes out of the office after these, and he's like, what did you do in here? Because I make such a mess. All right, there we go. So definitely fragrant. Smells really good. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna set it off the heat while I add in my yogurt. So I'm gonna add in the yogurt to the scallion lemon juice salt mixture. So I know a lot of times yogurt is really not something we traditionally do savory. We always think sweet, especially since there's so many flavored yogurts out there. But it really is a nice application. If you guys came to our taco party, we used Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, which was really nice for Bounce Forward. So that was really great. So I'm just mixing it all together. And Greek yogurt's a really nice base for dips as a substitution of mayonnaise or sour cream as well. So, you know, as we come up on some summer barbecues, that's definitely something to think about. So I am going to add in our chickpeas. And if you are using canned, you just want to make sure you're choosing a low sodium or definitely, and I've rinsed them no matter what, but make sure you are rinsing them. If you can't find low sodium, that's okay. Just make sure you're rinsing. That actually really does help to get rid of a lot of the salt. So what I usually do if I can't find low sodium, I actually will run it on through the water and rinse probably like 2 to 3 times and let it clear. So I'm gonna add our oil. I added a lot of Dijon mustard because I enjoy it. And I'm gonna mix that up also. Smells so good. And you could serve this, you know, on the Foodsmart recipe, it does show the chickpeas and then the yogurt before it's mixed in. So you can do it either way. And I'm gonna add in the, I did onion, but I'll add a little bit more because why not? I love color. And then I actually chopped up some mint, and this recipe also called for cilantro. So we've got mint and cilantro in here. And I'm just gonna mix it all together. And then throw some on top. And what's really nice is when you're planning recipes, planning things that have the same ingredients, you know, makes your food shop a lot easier. It limits food waste. So there's a lot of great reasons to kind of focus on that when you're planning meals for the week. I always like to think about what I have, you know, on hand, what might be, you know, expiring soon, but of course still able to be used. Definitely something to think about. So here is our dish here. It actually looks and smells so good. I can't wait to dig in. And our last one, I'm going to clean up just a bit. We're actually going to make meatballs. So I don't have a grill in here. Unfortunately, I don't have a grill right now. But this recipe on Foodsmart is for burgers, for sliders, and it actually suggests to grill, of course, the burgers, the pineapple, and the onion. Have you guys ever worked with grilled pineapple before at all? Definitely let me know, because having it on the burger, savory or sweet, is really good. So I actually usually, when we grill it, we actually use cinnamon and just a little bit of brown sugar Just make sure the grill is really clean because sweet versus savory, you don't want to get any charring on it. Okay, so I am going to grab our turkey. So I made these already just to save some time. So I have half my package of turkey here. So the recipe calls for a pound. So I'm going to grab my ground turkey. And when you're purchasing any ground meat, you know, for burgers, whatever recipes that you're going to be making this summer, just make sure you're looking for a leaner option. And I'm just going to wash my hands. But what that typically means is you want to look for 93 or 94%. That is going to be a lower saturated fat content. So it's going to be a little bit leaner. And of course, they all offer great protein. So I'm going to bring my ingredients here. And this one is super easy. So here we've got turkey. I'm cutting the recipe in half because the recipe calls for a pound. I've only used, I already used half of it. So we're doing half for the rest of the ingredients. And we're actually going to use a teriyaki. So Foodsmart has a chicken recipe that does have teriyaki. Again, I thought that was a little ambitious for me to make a teriyaki sauce and then put it in here in our 30-minute time frame. But if you want to make it yourself, that's a really nice option. What I will say about at least this brand and what to look out for is for lower sodium and lower sugar, because typically teriyakis are going to be very sweet when you find them in a jar like this. So this one is for 1 tablespoon. It's only 2 grams of added sugar. And the sodium is 250. So that's something that is a decent amount of salt in there. So I'm going to measure out about a tablespoon. Put that in there. Does anybody make their own teriyaki? Has anybody ever done that? I'm really excited to try that Foodsmart recipe because it looked really good. And then we're going to use garlic. So you guys know I'm a big fan of the minced garlic just because it makes things really easy. A lot of times when I buy a bulb of garlic, it usually, like, I'll use it for 1 or 2 recipes and then I find that, you know, it dries out and then I can't use it the next time I need it. So again, a way to limit food waste, but you're always more than welcome to use garlic. As I drip some rice vinegar on here, see? So I'm going to add in garlic, and it actually tells you on most of them what the equivalent of a clove is. So half a teaspoon is a clove. So the recipe does call for a clove of garlic. I use the whole thing because I really like garlic, and we use it a lot in our house. And then this one calls for 2 scallions as well. So this is going to be about 1 scallion. And I'm just going to mix this up. And the other thing you could do too, especially when you're making this type of dish, is if you use garlic powder, that might disperse a little bit better too. So you can also definitely use that if you don't have fresh garlic on hand. I think everybody probably has some garlic powder in their spice cabinet. Okay, so just mixing it all up here. And I actually air fried these. You guys know I'm a big fan of the air fryer. And what was nice is it made a nice crunch. These were, I will say, be honest, because of the fat content, I tried one, they were a little bit dry. But what's really nice about the recipe is it kind of compensates for that with the pineapple. So I just mixed it up really well. And what I did, I mean, if you were going to grill them, of course, you'd form them into patties, put them on the grill. And what I actually did, I think this is fun. My family does this when we eat meatballs. We actually have them as appetizers. And I'm actually going to put some fresh cut up pineapple in the center. And we actually serve it with toothpicks. You can grab a pineapple and a meatball all in one shot. So this is a fun way to kind of serve a different recipe if maybe you weren't necessarily looking to make this type of burger. So that's what it kind of looks like. We made it.
Wow, Sam. This
All
was
right, that was awesome.
fantastic. Woo! We did make it. Those look fantastic. It is lunchtime. I hope we got everyone looking to make a healthier choice for for your lunch, for your meals, for your family, and for yourselves. You know, cooking does help you like spark some energy, spark that balance in your life too. Maybe you find a new path or a new like into cooking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say I learned to cook at, I think I was 25. Like it's never too late to learn how to cook. And it doesn't have to be hard. Like a lot of times we associate cooking with being really difficult or taking a really long time. But you guys can see, I know I cooked the meatballs beforehand, but in the air fryer, they cook up really quick.
Yeah.
And when you are cooking any type of ground, especially turkey, any poultry, you want to make sure it's cooked to at least 165. I usually go to 170. Just to be 100% safe it's cooked through. So I always add that little bit in.
That's fantastic. What I'm going to share right now on the slides, your 100-point voucher for attending today. So where you could redeem this voucher, if you go under home to rewards and you want to click on redeem a voucher, you will enter this code right below. It's S as in Sam, YCC as in Charlie, A as in Apple, 0, Y, O as in octopus, C and Q. I know, a crazy combo right there, but that is your voucher code for 100 B-Well points. And also too, I wanted to highlight our next week's Let's Talk Wellness. I just saw in the chat, Jim, this was his first cooking demo with you. So welcome,
awesome.
Jim. I hope you will join us every week for a Let's Talk Wellness, and even monthly for Sam's cooking sessions. They are fantastic. I am learning to cook too, so you probably won't see me cooking, but Sam does a great job. But next week we do have Breaking Through Burnout. So we're going to discuss burnout, what it is, the signs and symptoms, the difference between stress and burnout, the causes and tips that we could use to take actions to prevent burnout through developing a higher sense of awareness. So just remember that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So you have a lot of resources out there for you for mental, emotional health. And also too, one last plug, Bounce Forward is happening. We are culminating the events on June 3rd with a Unity concert. That is also coming up. So check out the calendar, check out the link. Again, Bounce Forward, some great sessions on there. The session that Sam was talking about, we did a taco party on May 7th. That was a lot of fun, some great tips in there. And we also did a pizza pocket party of cooking some calzones. So Sam, do you have anything else to close us out with, or?
No, thank you guys so much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I will keep this up just in case I have 2 more minutes and I have to jump to another call.